Now here's your host, Bill Teegins.
Hi everybody, and welcome to this week's Eddie Sutton Show. The Cowboys stand 10-5 on the season, just about ready to wrap up the non-conference portion. Then it's Big 8 play all the way, but boy, coming up doesn't get any easier, does it, Coach?
Well, the game Saturday afternoon with Michigan State probably is the toughest non-conference foe we've had. We've played a very challenging schedule, and we played some very fine basketball teams, but I really believe Michigan State's the best that we've seen. They have one of the best guard combinations in the country in Snow and Respert. Respert probably is the best off guard we have in college basketball. He'll be a #1 draft choice. In his last outing this week, they were beaten. Indiana continues to have the best home court winning streak. They beat Michigan State, and that was their 50th straight win on their court. But Respert hit him for 40 points, and he only took 21 shots, but he hit 13, hit 9 threes. He's just an outstanding basketball player. And our defense, in fact, our whole team is going to be challenged up there Saturday afternoon.
You went 1-1 this past week. You're coming off a win over Oral Roberts, a game in which all of your players got to play, everybody got to contribute. So that's a good thing as you're heading into this real stretch run.
Well, we played very well in the Oral Roberts game. And everyone did get to play, and that's always good because a lot of our guys work hard in practice and then they don't get to play very much. So it makes for, the guys have that chance. Now they can go out and practice hard again. Hopefully we'll have some other games like that. But once you get to the Big 8, you're not going to have any easy games like we had with Oral Roberts. We lost a tough one up at Manhattan against K-State in our last Saturday. And again, after we play Michigan State Saturday, we play here in Gallagher, Iowa, in one of the big games every year. We host the University of Oklahoma.
Boy, it'll be great to be back home. It seems like forever. And we're going to take a break. When we come back on the Eddie Sutton Show, highlights of the Big 8 opener against Kansas State, as well as the ORU game when the Eddie Sutton Show continues. And welcome back to the Eddie Sutton Show. The Big 8 conference season is finally here, and the trip up to Manhattan didn't turn out as well as we had hoped.
You know, we had great success up there. We'd beaten them 4 straight times, and we went up there, and I told some of our young players, now you're going to see that the intensity level rises a little bit when you get in conference play, not only in the Big 8, but in any conference. And early, I thought we were in good shape. They pressed us. We took them right out of the press and got ahead 30-23 and looked like things were in good shape. And then the last 5 or 6 minutes of the just before halftime, they hit us for some 3-pointers, and we trailed halftime by 1 point. There's Randy Rutherford, pretty good play right there. He saw he's going to get fouled, and that's something young players ought to understand. When you go up for a shot and you hear that whistle blow, well, make sure you throw that ball at the basket. It may go in, and at least you're going to get 2 free throws, but Randy got a 3-point play out of that.
Well, great hustle by Andre Owens.
Andre stripped their point guard, and their point guard Hatcher's a very good player.
You know, it was interesting, I thought, on Randy Rutherford, his comments after the game. He did not shoot the ball the way Randy Rutherford normally shoots it, but he's so much more mature now. He realizes some days are going to go in and some don't. He still plays well defensively, helps you out on the boards.
Well, he's a complete player, and we'll talk more about his outstanding play against Oral Roberts. He didn't score very much in that game, but he did a lot of other things well, and he did in this game. If Randy shoots the ball, there's Kevin Miles hitting a turnaround jumper, but if he shoots the ball like he normally does, you probably get out of here with a victory. He was only 3 out of 15, but still, we didn't play like we need to play on the road against a quality opponent. We turned the ball over too many times. We gave up too many second opportunities. Defensive board play was not good, and we fouled too much. We had 22 whistles, 20 turnovers, and we gave up 18 offensive rebounds and only shot around 44% from the field, and that's hard to beat a team on the road when you make that many mistakes.
We just saw, well, Country's just obviously playing very well in this game,
well,
23 points,
well.
16 rebounds.
I mean, you know, he had a lot of rebounds, and they did a good job. They held him to 15 shots, but he hit 9 of them. But he did have 16 rebounds and led our ball club with 23 points.
Terry Collins, we saw him hit a jumper a moment ago. He's really elevated his game offensively, hasn't he?
We've got to get Terry and 2 or 3 of our other players to elevate their offensive game. And as a team, we've got to get better defensively. But Terry, I thought, played well in this game, and I thought he played very well in the Oral Roberts game. Had 15 points in that contest. So he's one that has got to score in double figures for us if we're going to be a good team. There's a mistake, one of the turnovers, and it led to a three-point play. And Terry Collins is the best we have at what we call running through a pass, where he overplays his man, and when the defender or when the offensive man makes the pass, then he runs through it.
Fouled out, one of a couple of Cowboys to foul out of that game.
Well, if you play man defense, you're going to foul, but we just commit too many dumb fouls. And there's a cardinal sin. Miss free throw, get the ball back, kick it out. They got a three-pointer.
Nolan with 21 points for Kansas State. Pretty good outside shooter.
He'd like to play us every week. I mean, I think last year he had his highest number of points against the Cowboys, and again this year. Two guys that hurt us, Nolan had 21. Hatcher, the little point guard, junior college point guard, had 23.
As you can see, we're in the late stages of the game. This is a game that the Cowboys easily could have won. It looked like you were going to pull it out.
Well, I thought our effort was good. We just need to make sure that we just don't – I get frustrated with the team because I know we're better than what we're playing, and a lot of these things are just mistakes that our guys have got to focus in and concentrate on what they're doing at that very moment, and I think some of these things will be corrected.
Nice hustle by Pierce there to save that one. So again, it's a game, and there's the final 74-66. Obviously not exactly the way you want to open the Big 8.
When you win a conference, you need to win the games that you should win, and we were favored in this ball game, and I really felt like that after a week of two-a-day practice sessions that our ball club had gotten better. But we went up there and just continued to make a lot of mistakes, and one of these days we're going to put a whole game together and we're going to beat somebody we shouldn't.
Well, things got a whole lot better real quick when the Cowboys traveled to the Tulsa Mabee Center to take on the ORU Golden Eagles, and you're 10-0 in that building now, Coach.
In the 5 years that I've been back here at Oklahoma State, we have gone over to Mabee, and it's been very good to us, and we played some quality opponents over there, and our teams have played very well. There's an out-of-bounds play that worked to perfection. There are three guys sitting on the other bench that are all Oklahoma State grads, and I told our team before the ball game that those guys would rather win this game than any game on their schedule, and their team had really been playing quite well, and we went out early and just really got after them defensively, and they didn't shoot the ball well, and I looked up there, and I think they only had 9 points with 15 minutes gone in the first half. And it took a three-point shot just before the buzzer at halftime to get them to 17, and we led at halftime by a sizable margin. There's a nice shot by Andre. I thought Andre played much better in this ball game.
You had a lot of guys, as we said, step up and come off the bench and really play well for you.
It was a strange game, as you mentioned before we went on the air. Our two top players, Rutherford and Reeves, did not score a point until there were about 15 minutes gone in the first half, and yet we were up by about 20 points. There's Chad Alexander, and he's got to come on and help us. He's one of our best perimeter shooters. He had 5 rebounds and 6 points, and there's a good steal. But they played a box and one, and really kind of took a nice fast break and a good flush shot there by Jason Scare. But they took Randy out of the game with a box and one, and they really concentrated on Brian inside. But our other guys stepped forward and really, made some good shots, and I felt good when we left the arena. I thought our team played much better but the defense was a big key. They only shot 23% for the game from the field, and you're just not going to beat anyone. But going back to Bill Self, the head coach, and Steve Anthus and Barry Henson, their coaching staff, I think they really felt like if their players shot the ball well, they had a chance to upset us, and I think they also thought we would be looking ahead to Michigan State and Oklahoma. But our players really responded, and like I said, I thought they played a good game.
Well, you have 4 players in double figures: Pierce, Collins, Owens, and Bryant.
Randy Rutherford, I think, only got up, 7 shots. He only ended up 5 points, but he had 11 rebounds, 10 defensive boards. But the biggest thing he did, he shut out their fine freshman guard, Gill, and he covered him most of the night. And Gill's been averaging about 16 points a game. He didn't even score a field goal.
Yeah, that was great defense. Good move to the hoop right here.
A lot of times Terry Collins gets there but doesn't finish the shot, but he certainly did on that one. that particular shot. There's Jason Skeer hitting the 3. We were 7 out of 19 from three-point range. We hit 50% from the field, and we were 13 out of 17 at the line. We out-rebounded them 50 to 34.
Miles is continuing to play well. Here's Chad from outside.
Like I said, Chad has got to improve a little bit on his defense, but he certainly can play at the offensive end right now.
I was going to ask you about that Pierce three-pointer. Is that the play
Pierce is a
designed for
good
him?
shooter. I mean, Pierce is one of those guys that we projected to be a starter before the season began. Then he was out for 4 weeks with an injury, and he just never has really come back. But he's a senior, and we really feel like if down the last half of the season that Scott Pierce got to play a major role.
Well, he's got some heart. I think he wants to play. 84-45. We're going to take a break in a minute, but first of all, how do you feel about your ball club right now?
Well, I'll tell you more about that next week after we play Michigan State and Oklahoma. Two teams that are really good ball clubs, and I keep thinking our team is going to get there, and as I mentioned earlier, one of these nights we're going to play for 40 minutes, and we're going to look like a basketball team. Well,
coming up, we're going to take a look at scheduling and some of the intricacies of that when the Eddie Sutton Show continues. Welcome back to the Eddie Sutton Show. If you think the Cowboys have been on the road a lot this year, you're absolutely right. Scheduling is not as easy as it may seem. In this week's Off the Court feature, Tom Dirato takes a look at that aspect of OSU basketball.
When the Oklahoma State Cowboys return from East Lansing, Michigan late Saturday night, they should rank among the NCAA leaders when it comes to frequent flyer miles. OSU will log an incredible 14,880 miles over the first 8 weeks of the season. The journey has taken Oklahoma State from Anchorage, Alaska to Providence, Rhode Island, and to a number of cities in between. 11 of the first 16 games this year have been played outside the friendly confines of Gallagher-Iba Arena.
And I guess we should ask, who made this schedule?
You know, there's a bad rumor going around. All the fingers have been pointing towards me. Actually, I did help schedule the Pan American game, the Northwest Missouri State game, the Alaska game, but I'm going to blame Arizona State and Providence on Pelfrey. He's no longer here.
We ought to explain to our fans now. John Pelfrey was here, now an assistant at Marshall. Has he called back at all to maybe apologize for some of this schedule?
A little bit. He's got a lot of grief from my dad, but a year ago, we were in a bind when it was back in, I guess, June or July, and we took some national television games against LSU, and then the Arizona State game was on national television. Then Providence was, in fact, the last game we scheduled. So a lot of the schedule that we're seeing this year is due to last year's inability to schedule games earlier. So hopefully down the road we won't get in this kind of area again.
Scheduling at best is a tough job, Sean, especially when you try to bring top talent to Stillwater.
Well, it really is, because at Oklahoma State, it's not a very easy place. Stillwater's not an easy place to get to start with. On top of that, when you're 56-4 the last 4 years inside this building, a lot of teams don't want to travel that far to take a loss. So we've had a lot of trouble getting quality teams in this arena. Hopefully down the road we're going to improve in that area. So what's happened is we had to play a lot of games in Tulsa, and I know that it's been good for the Tulsa fans, but at the same time we want to have our home court advantage right here in Gallagher-Iba Arena.
I guess the upside of all this is the fact that some of these teams that we're visiting this year will return to Stillwater.
I think that'll help. Next year Arizona State comes in here, Michigan State will come in here a year from now. So two quality big-time opponents will be in our own arena next year. So it'll be something for the fans here at Oklahoma State to look forward to.
You might explain to our fans a little bit about what goes into the negotiations when you start bringing non-conference opponents to Gallagher-Iba Arena. There are a lot of conversations that go on, and it doesn't just happen overnight.
It takes months and months and months, because coaches like to put things off, and scheduling is one of them. They would rather focusing on recruiting or coaching their own team, and sometimes scheduling gets pushed aside and everybody scrambles at the last minute to schedule games, and so it's very difficult. It takes a lot of time. One of the things that we're really working on here is we're trying to schedule games in advance. If you look at next year's schedule, we only need 2 games to schedule, and so we're making some improvement in that area.
I know you would like to get a game, or maybe a game or 2 in the Oklahoma City area, but the pro teams in Oklahoma City pretty well have all the good dates wrapped up.
Well, it makes it tough because of all the things that go on down there, but hopefully down the road we're going to play a game there. I know it's important to the fans for Oklahoma State that live in Oklahoma City to see the Cowboys play. The Tulsa fans have probably been spoiled some over the last 2 years, getting a chance to see us play quite often in the Mabee Center. So it's definitely something we want to do down the road, take our act to Oklahoma City.
And one of the things, it's a good news, bad news situation, but national television also complicates scheduling. Obviously, you want to be on national TV as much as you can, but boy, that just jostles that schedule around.
What makes it difficult, I think, in recruiting, it really helps when kids want to play against good, top-notch competitions. They want to play on national television games. So sometimes you take games, for instance, Michigan State on Saturday is a game that we took at the last minute. It was one of the last games we scheduled for the simple fact that it was on CBS. And I think it gives visibility to Oklahoma State. There's a financial reward out of it towards Oklahoma State. And on top of that, Michigan State comes back a year from now, and CBS has promised to bring a national opponent to Gallagher-Iba Arena.
Hindsight's always perfect, always the 20/20. But if you could change something about the schedule now, knowing what you know now, what would it be?
Probably this Michigan State trip. Probably wish we could have scheduled a little bit earlier or a little bit later, so it's not coming at a time so crucial when we come home and play Oklahoma on Monday night, because there's not a lot of rest in between. On top of that, I think if you look back to last year, maybe not scheduling Providence or Arizona State, one of those teams, having to play them both on the road this year made it very difficult.
So I guess you're telling me, in effect, the best advice you can give me during the non-conference season is to always keep your bags packed and set an alarm for an early wake-up call?
Our travel plans haven't been the best. We've had a lot of 6 o'clock wake-up calls this year. But the one thing we're going to try to do down the road, we're still going to play very good basketball teams, because we think it helps our guys prepare them for the Big 8, plus it gives you some national attention across the country. But down the road, we're just not going to play as many.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, this building right here is going to look pretty good to us over the next 2 weeks. And gentlemen, we'll send it back to you.
Nice feature by Tom, and I don't think our fans do understand how difficult it is to schedule, especially getting teams, quality teams, to come into Gallagher-Iba. But we are going to be blessed next year by having Michigan State and Arizona State come to Stillwater. We're still pointing the finger at Pelfrey, you know. But when you think of the 5 losses, K-State's a conference game, but Arizona State, BYU, and Providence, in all likelihood, all 4 of those teams will be in the 64-team NCAA field. So we've played a very tough schedule, and had we won a couple of those games, then I think all of us would feel good about where we are right now if the team were playing just a little bit better.
And of course, the toughness continues, and when we come back on the Eddie Sutton Show, we'll take a look at what's ahead for the Cowboys and the rest of the Big 8 Conference on the Eddie Sutton Show. Welcome back to the Eddie Sutton Show. Coach, very important stretch for the Cowboys when you think you have nationally ranked Michigan State, then you come back Oklahoma. You also have Missouri at home.
Well, Oklahoma is always a special game. It's an important game for your students, for your faculty, for your alums, for everybody. And we've had some great games since I came back to Oklahoma State. And, of course, they have a new coaching staff down there, and they've done an outstanding job with their basketball team. But it will be rocking in Gallagher-Iba on Monday night when we play host to the Sooners. That's always a special game, and it gets loud and rowdy.
Won't it be nice to be home, too, and the students will be back, so that'll be nice.
And it's going to be on ESPN, so it'll give the country a chance to see what Gallagher-Iba is all about. As Sean mentioned, we're 52-4, I believe, in 4.5 years in that arena. It's a wonderful place if you're coaching on the home bench.
Let's take a look at the schedule, and we'll see what's ahead not only for the Cowboys but also the rest of the Big 8. And again, the CBS game you can see on Channel 6 in Tulsa, Channel 9 in Oklahoma City. Well,
every game in the Big 8 is a special game right now because everyone thinks they can win the conference. And you can see Kansas is playing at Iowa State. I think that's a real key game as far as early season conference play, because if Kansas gets out of Ames, and Iowa State is really a good basketball team, then they've gone to 2 of the toughest places. They really looked outstanding, in my opinion, when they beat Missouri last week. If they get out of Ames, then I think everybody's going to be chasing them the rest of the year.
Okay, there's Saturday and Monday again. It's Big Monday, Oklahoma at Oklahoma State.
Non-conference game for Colorado on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, pretty full schedule as far as conference play is concerned. And ORU has to go back down to Norman. That won't be an easy game for Coach Self.
You know, at this stage of the season, only 1 week into the Big 8, you talked about Kansas. Anything else surprise you, really, of what's happened in the early stages of this conference?
Well, I think as I see the Big 8 at this point, and you can't really maybe evaluate all of the teams because a lot of them have played a schedule that's not really challenging. And maybe the record is deceiving. Like ours is 10-5, but we're probably better than 10-5. Well, some of the teams I don't think are as good as their record. But I think everybody in the Big 8 is a good basketball team. I think the top half of the league, with the exception of Kansas, might be a little softer, might not be quite as good as it's been. I think the middle part of the league and the lower half is terrific. I think the lower half of the Big 8 is the best it's been in the 5 years I've been here.
Let's talk a little bit more about Michigan State, although we probably don't want to. Respert, who gets the lucky chore of taking that guy on?
Well, I don't think that you're going to shut that guy out. He's a terrific basketball player. He'd probably be a great pro because he's got a quick release. He reminds me a lot of Randy Rutherford. I'm not sure Respert doesn't read screens a little bit better than Randy does at times, but both of them are outstanding college players. We're probably going to keep different people on Respert and try to wear him down. And I think the big key in that ball game, because they have other players other than Respert, big, strong people up front, we have got to minimize the number of second opportunities they get. So defensive board play is the major key.
Will you see yourself going deep off the bench in this one?
Well, I hope some of our guys can play as well against a Michigan State or Oklahoma. Some of those guys that come off the bench as they have played against maybe some of our weaker opponents. For instance, the other night against ORU, some of those guys played terrific. Well, they got to understand they can play just as well against a top-notch team.
Well, Coach, best of luck to you. I know it's an important week. Again, Michigan State on Saturday. You can see the game in Channel 6 in Tulsa, Channel 9 in Oklahoma City. Then the big one, Monday night, Oklahoma State at Gallagher-Iba Arena. For Coach Sutton, I'm Bill Teegins. We'll see you next week on the Eddie Sutton Show.